Have you ever had this experience where you're a team leader and you have some direct reports working underneath you? And in meetings with your direct reports, there's no problem there. You are connecting with your direct reports, they're understanding what you're saying, they're listening to you as well, and you're feeling very empowered in those conversations. But however, when you find yourself in meetings with senior executives, these are individuals who are at the leadership, they are strategic direction, they make decisions for the company, then somehow the ways that you're using to connect with your direct reports don't quite translate when you're communicating with executives. Well, your direct reports and your executives are different people. What they look for in conversations is very different. What they are looking for in terms of the value you're providing in conversations is very different as well. The way they think, the way they operate, the way that they connect with people in conversations is very different. So in this video, what I want to share with you is, why is it? The 5 reasons why your executives aren't listening to you, if that's what you're noticing, even if your direct reports are listening to you, and what you can do about it. In this framework, there are 5 steps that you can take to have executives listening to you and your ideas and when you share in meetings. And the 5-step framework is going to follow the acronym SPEAK, S-P-E-A-K. So every step of the framework will start with the first letter of the word, of spelling the word speak. The first letter is S, and S is to be specific. And the reason why this relates to one of the first reasons why executives aren't listening to you is because you're too bogged down into the minutia. Senior executives, when they are making decisions for the company or for whole departments or for certain business functions, they are looking at things from a more expansive lens, farther out and bigger picture as well. So think of time and space, farther and bigger. So when you are speaking with them and you're bringing too much detail into your presentations, when you're bringing too many minutiae into your conversations or into your idea, they get lost. The fact is, you and your direct reports are very connected with those details because you're in the hand, you're rolling up your sleeves, you're in the processes, you're in the details of it, but your executives are not. And as a result of that, they're a little bit farther removed from you and your direct reports from the very steps and the details of the projects or of the processes that you manage. So as a result of that, when you bring in the specifics, this is where it's important to understand what constitutes details for my team and my direct reports, what constitutes processes versus what constitutes strategy, what constitutes vision, what constitutes a longer time frame, what constitutes a bigger picture vision. So then it's really understanding where the categories of your idea fit in and the contributions you want to make, where they fit in, and you are cutting so that you can stay specific on the bigger picture with longer time frames. So that's the first step, is to bring the specifics. The second step of the framework starts with the letter P, S-P-E-A-K. So P. P stands for presence. And this leads to the second reason why executives aren't listening. If you're noticing that they're not paying attention, is because we're not really present in the moment. What do I mean by that? Being present in the moment means being present to the situation at hand, being present to understanding what the business needs, being present to really knowing what is the strategic direction of the company, where are we going, where are we at right now, and which direction are we going and why. And being present to what is the mission that we're wanting to achieve, not just for this fiscal year, but what about 5 years from now? What is the ultimate goal and the ultimate vision of the change we want to make in this industry? And what about the change we want to make in this world? Being present to all of that, and also being present all the way down to the micro, being present under understanding, who am I talking to? Who are the executives in the room? And what are their priorities? What's important to them? When it comes to them being able to choose all of the decisions that they're making and how they make those decisions, what do they consider? What are their priorities? What's their importance? And how do they weigh what's important to them? And how do they weigh their priorities? And so this is where it's really important in order for you to be present in that situation, in those moments, that you are calm and you are present inside. So here's what I mean by that. If you find yourself in front of executives, in meetings with executives and in meetings with senior stakeholders, and you're concerned about what they think of you, Or maybe you are concerned about receiving criticism from them and you're just hoping that you're not going to get criticism. Or maybe in those moments you're thinking that they are so much smarter than you, that maybe you're not good enough in your communications, or maybe they have a lot more intelligence, and then in those areas that maybe you feel like you're lacking it. In those moments, if you have any of that inside of you, those thoughts, those beliefs, those emotions, that volatility inside of you, it's going to be really difficult to be present. It's going to be really difficult to have the presence you need to be able to speak in such a way that they really relate with you, that they really hear you. Not just that they are listening, but that they really hear what you're saying. Right? So the second step is P, presence. Establish that presence, which means to really calm some of that volatility that's going on inside of you in terms of your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, and also your physiology, so that you can truly understand what's happening and show up as your whole self. Step 3 in the framework starts with the letter E, and E stands for engage. Engage. So what does it mean to engage somebody? When you're truly engaging another person, you are engaging with them through dialogue. A lot of times when it comes to meetings with senior stakeholders or senior executives, it's like an alternating monologue. Right, where I'm telling them what I want to share, and I want to position myself as someone who's knowledgeable. I want to establish myself and my credibility and my authority. So I just got to make sure I share with them everything that I know. And then when they talk, in that moment, I'm overly concerned about what I want to say next. So it's like an alternating monologue. A dialogue is different. A dialogue is when we are truly present to each other's priorities and we are creating a fair exchange through this communication. So this is step number 3, is truly engaging means I got to be able to know what they might be considering. I got to be able to know what their interests are and how to communicate with them using a language that they can really relate to, using the words that they can really understand. And if they don't, I got to make sure that my dictionary matches theirs and that we have common understanding. So being truly engaging, if I don't understand something, is being able to know the clarity of the questions that I need to ask as well to make sure that they're properly engaged. To be able to bring the energy that is important so that they can retain, so I could retain that engagement from the beginning all the way through the end of that conversation. It's being able to be focused on this fair exchange aspect of it. So I'm not just trying to talk, and I'm not just interested in establishing my authority, but I'm also interested in serving them to the fullest of my potential. So this is the third step. E is for engage. How can you engage your executives? One of the most common questions I get from executives and from career professionals is, how do I establish my presence? How do I establish my authority? How do I exude executive presence? If you have these questions or questions similar to like this, and you're wondering, is it possible to even get trained in that? I want to share with you that yes, it is possible, and there are real processes and real curriculum to really help you to develop these skills. Soft skills are not so soft anymore. So if you're serious about growing yourself as a professional, if you are serious and committed to your own personal growth, then I invite you to work with me and my team. Below this video, there is a link. The very first link is to book a call to talk with one of my expert career advisors. And on this call, we're going to explore where you're at right now, identify potent opportunities for growth that you may have been missing. And if we are a good match, then you're going to come into the mentorship and work with me and my team of coaches. And if that is you, then I look forward to meeting you and to working with you on the inside. The fourth step of the SPEAK framework is the letter A, and A stands for anticipate. Anticipate. So what is anticipation? Anticipation is a positive expectation of the future, believing in the outcomes that you will create together. Anticipation gives you energy. Have you ever noticed that? Think about Christmas morning. The night before Christmas, on Christmas Eve, we look forward to Christmas morning with anticipation. And sometimes if we anticipate, the more we look forward to it, the more we get energy. And that's why a lot of people can't sleep when they're waiting for the next day to come. They just can't sleep because they have too much energy. So bring the anticipation energy. So the question now becomes, well, what are you anticipating in these conversations with executives? What are you anticipating? Because the goal of executive communications is to create clear outcomes for the business, to increase collaboration, and also to increase productivity as a larger team, that's why it's important to anticipate what questions they might ask. It also important to anticipate what considerations might they have to suggestions you might bring up, what objections they might have to ideas you might share. So all of these things are important to anticipate, because then in advance of your meeting with them or your presentation with them, you are better able to come with the right frameworks, the right ideas, the right knowledge, and the right research to be able to handle those considerations, to be able to handle their objections, and to be able to answer questions that might come up as well. So this is a proactive stance. When you anticipate, you're proactively preparing for these conversations, whether they may be presentations that you have scheduled in advance or they are impromptu conversations. The practice of anticipation will serve you either way. And the last and fifth step of the framework, the SPEAK framework, is knowledge distillation, the letter K. So why are executives not listening to you? The fifth reason why is because they don't know what you know. And it's not possible for them to know what you know, because that's your expertise. You've been implementing your knowledge for years now. You've been spending years at developing your knowledge base, at assimilating it, at breaking it down and applying it to the projects you've been managing, applying it to increase your KPIs. You know what you know because you spent many years researching it, honing it, and advancing it. Your knowledge is there to serve the people around you and to serve the business that you are part of and the business function that you are a part of as well. So when you're in the room with executives, they can't possibly know everything you know, and that's not the point. The point is not that you need to tell them everything that you know, but that's why knowledge distillation is important. How might you distill your knowledge into the most important idea, or the most important takeaway, or the most important comment, or the most important recommendation to serve the business and to serve them as decision makers for the company? The practice of knowledge distillation is going to serve you not just in your present conversation, but it's also going to serve you in any conversation you might have in the future as well. Because anytime you're in rooms with executives, they're used to distilling their knowledge. They're used to being asked questions on the fly and being able to give a very thoughtful response. So put into that practice, distilling your knowledge regularly, so that you're not going to feel like constantly this pressure of needing to share everything you know, because you feel like if I don't, I'm not going to display my expertise. So that is the fifth step of the framework, knowledge distillation. One of the most common goals in communicating with executives is to get buy-in for your ideas or your recommendations. So if you're looking for some strategies on how to get buy-in, I have one video coming up next on the 3 pillars on how to get buy-in from executives. That's coming on right up next. I'll see you there.